G'day folks, here's my look at two underrated Aussie death metal bands, Backyard Mortuary and Crypt. G'day folks, welcome back to the channel. Today we're continuing our look at some underrated Aussie metal bands. Today we're doing Backyard Mortuary from Sydney and Crypt from Queensland. As usual with these things, this is just what I consider underrated. I mean, both these bands played to pretty damn good crowds, played some damn good festivals in Australia, so they're not underrated in Australia, but around the rest of the world, I think they need a bit more love, so yeah, let's have a look-see at them. Alright, first up we have Sydney death metal legends Backyard Mortuary. They originally formed in 2002 as Necropsy, but some time changed their name to Backyard Mortuary. The core lineup was Chris Archer on vocals and guitars at one point, and David Thomas on guitars. They recorded the initial Dead Gorgeous demo, and then they got Bianca on bass, and a drummer Bob, and a second guitarist Andrew, who did their second EP, and then eventually got Stu from Stone Wings and a number of other bands on guitar, and John from Every City Band on drums as well for their proper albums. Bit of a lineup changes over the years, but yeah, they were absolutely killer death metal. It's your fairly basic sounding death metal, like, you know, style wise, it's kind of death meets incantation with a bit of autopsy and some local influence from like a Bramlin, so just classic death metal, can't go wrong. Yeah, they split up in 2014. I think they'd already mostly split. They played a few final shows in 2014, but Chris had moved to Mexico in 2011 or 12, somewhere around there, so didn't really help matters. So yeah, they're sorely missed, but yeah, I did see them a batch of times, and yeah, they were bloody excellent. Their first release from 2002 was Dead Gorgeous. Look at that cover art. That is just, yeah, not good. Not great. Gets your attention though, I'll admit that. So yeah, this is Bodgy CDR, just their demo essentially. This is a two-piece, so it's just Chris on guitar and vocals and Dave on guitar and backing vocals. So it's got a drum machine which actually isn't that noticeable, except maybe when they blast it's a bit noticeable then, but yeah, they're not quite the prime sort of lumbering death metal machine that they were later on. There's a slight, I don't know, kind of Black Death feel to it in parts. Maybe it's a bit of sort of, you know, your early South American sarcophago kind of style. It could just be the raspier kind of vocals that Chris uses. And yeah, his death vocals have not really developed all that well on this. So yeah, not my favourite part of their catalogue, I've got to say. But yeah, you got to start somewhere. What is it? Visceral Masterpiece even has, I don't know, the start sounds distinctly like the start of Freezing Moon, like the Mayhem song, but quickly changes. My highlight is probably Pre-Mortem Autopsy, which thankfully gets a reworking on the next EP, but yeah, the worst song in any of those, the final kind of jokey song, it's called Into the Woods on here, but it's the Teddy Bear's Picnic, but done in death metal and fast, and yeah, is not good at all. That yeah, unsurprisingly, I do have a link to their Bandcamp below, but it doesn't have this or their. Unfortunately, it doesn't have their next EP, which is actually pretty good, but yeah, it does not have this. So you never know, it might be on YouTube somewhere, but yeah, I can see why they might not want that song on there. That's for sure. So yeah, as I said, it's a damn good start. I didn't have this until I'd already seen them. I cannot remember where the hell I got this from. Probably the band themselves. I probably just pestered Chris enough until he gave me one. But yeah, I was pleased to get it. But yeah, it's a start. But yeah, nowhere near as good as their later stuff. In 2005, they released their self-titled EP, which this is a CD version. It also came out on tape, which I've never actually seen, so yeah, with a different cover that I'll put up, because yeah, it's kind of stylish. Yeah, this is a much more fleshed out lineup. They've got Stephen on guitar, who doesn't appear to be in any other band, and yeah, Bianca, a long-time bassist, joined on bass for this. Chris just does vocals and drums on this because they didn't actually have a drummer, so it sounds a lot better already than the drum machine. So yeah, but overall the whole thing's a massive improvement. Much better production, full embrace of sort of, just death metal. It's I think Beyond the Grave's the opener, and it's just pure death metal, just rules supreme. Chris's vocals sound a huge amount better on this. Much more projecting, sort of much like Simon from a Bramlin, who I'm sure he's heard once or twice. Just deeper, gorier sort of growl. It's beautiful stuff. Pre-Mortem Autopsy gets another run on this and sounds a lot better, but I think it's Macabre Butchery is probably my favourite on this. It's just catchy as hell, got a heavy chug, and just that chorus, just screaming along to Macabre Butchery is beautiful stuff. The ending with a slow sort of chunky riff with Chris just growling over the top of it is, amazing. But this is the first thing I got of theirs, and probably around the time when I started seeing them live. I think the first time I saw them was probably Bloodlust, but it was very marked step up from the previous one. So great stuff. And their final release from 2012 was Lure of the Occult. This is with their final lineup with Stu on guitar and John on drums, joining Chris, Bianca and Dave. This is definitely their peak, I'd say. After a brief little intro, there's Beyond the Grave gets re-recorded and just sounds even more powerful. John's drumming really kind of lifts this and makes it sound a lot more professional. Not that Chris's was that bad on the last EP, but John knows what he's doing. Newer song Mutation has a riff that sounds quite a bit like it could have been on Leprosy by Death, but I'm not that surprised because considering they did actually cover Mutilation for some Chinese Chuck Schuldiner tribute album, so they're obviously good fans of Death, that's for sure. It's also a great example of on Mutation of Chris doing his death laughter. I love a good evil laugh in death metal voice. It was always a treat live. Crowd loved it. Deprivation's probably my favourite on here, with slow sort of heavy riff, plus some just great vocals, and also this bit where it's just like bass and growling and stomping end section, just rules supreme. And also Macabre Butchery gets a redone version of this that freaking rules. I think it's Demon's Blood also has just catchy ass chorus of drink from the chalice of demon's blood or something or other. And this is the original CD version of it that they self-released, and it also came out on record. Of course, I had to buy this. This is a Blood Harvest version. I think Dark Descent reissued the CD version as well, which I don't actually have, but I have the tape version as well that I don't think I've even listened to. I'm not sure if they just gave me this or if I bought it at a show or something or other. I don't know. So I don't have the Dark Descent version, which John did offer to either give it to me or sell it to me. So I thought, I think 3 versions of one album is probably enough for the moment. But it's killer friggin' album. I'll show you the inners of the record. You get a nice thrash collage. Love it. And the band looking pretty tough live. So it's kick-ass bloody album, and this is pretty much all you need, I think, for them. I mean, the earlier EPs, I mean, the Backyard Mortuary one's really good, but most of the not most, but a number of the songs are on this, re-recorded on this. The album friggin' rules. Live, they were bloody awesome. I saw them a number of times. And they, in their very early days, they supported like Exhumed and Deeds of Flesh, but I'm not sure if I saw them with Exhumed. I went on because Exhumed played they played 2 shows in Sydney, one on Sunday, one on the Monday, and the Monday was like a harbour cruise, which I definitely went on because it was very, very memorable watching Exhumed on a ferry cruising around Sydney Harbour, as I think I've told several times before. But I'm not sure if I saw them the night before, because Backyard Mortuary supported them along with like Vaticide and Miscreation, I think. So, maybe I was a little tipsy, who knows. At any rate, the first time I remember seeing them at any rate is Bloodlust number 5, which was in 2005. It was a big Sydney festival that was friggin' killer. And yeah, that I think they were on first or second then, so it was still pretty young. I don't know who the drummer was at that stage. I assume Stephen was playing guitar for him. Who knows? Is it the various other members? I don't know, and they don't have any links to anything else on Metal Archives, so who knows? But yeah, I also saw him as part of that massive Shackled in the Mortuary tour. What a number of dates that one had, which they even did a t-shirt of for 2 dates. Beautiful stuff. So yeah, they played Canberra a couple of times, I think, but yeah, they were friggin' killer Oz. I'm not sure if it was their final gig, or I think it might have been one of the Evil Invaders gigs that they played, and there was all these people in the crowd, taking the piss out of them, holding up placards about pants, because Stu, the guitarist, doesn't like wearing pants all that much, so all these music placards that I think I got a few pictures of people, waving at Stu, so they were very enjoyable, fun sort of gigs. Not the most serious. I mean, they're playing horrible death metal, but yeah, they were loving it. The crowd were loving it. The final show was in April 2014, and then they toured the US for like 5 or 6 dates just for the hell of it, which were their final shows. And I think I read somewhere that their last show in LA was the crowd were getting into it because Chris could speak Spanish, so they were having a grand time. So yeah, I'm glad I saw their final Australian show at any rate, because yeah, it was special times, and yeah, that stuff live was just pure death metal live. It doesn't get much better really, and yeah, they could bring it live. It was very powerful. So where are they now? Well, Dave, the long-time guitarist, doesn't seem to be in anything else. I don't know him, so no idea. But Chris, when he was in Mexico, he formed his own band, Blasphemencia. Very 80s American, South American sounding, kind of black thrash kind of style. This is their only demo so far, but yeah, it's freaking killer. And now they're playing. I think Chris does everything on the demo because it was recorded in Mexico, but now he's back in Australia and they're playing shows. I've seen him at least once, maybe twice. His brother Nathan on bass, and good old John every band on drums. So yeah, they kill it live. Bianca, I'm not 100% sure if she's still in any bands. After Backyard Mortuary, her and Stu and John and some other mates did a band called Horisonus that I think are still going. I don't think Bianca's in them anymore, but Stu and John are still in them along with other dudes. That's pretty much more death metal. It's actually with John singing instead of drumming for once. So yeah, that's killer band. I think I've only seen them the once, but yeah, those albums well worth tracking down. Stu himself is a very busy boy, you could say. He's also in one of his other bands is Illimitable Dollar, which I have multiple releases of theirs. It's a Funeral Doom sort of band, which also has John on drums and various other mates and so on. So they're bloody killer. There was also the Slow Death, which is another Funeral Doomy kind of one of Stu's, with also with John on drums and like Mandy on vocals, and also his old mate Greg as well. So yeah, that's quality Funeral Doom. And John, as well as being in a ton of other bands, is also in Burden Man, which he drums and sings for a bit. They're kind of, how do you describe them? Kind of Catatonia sort of style almost. It's like depressive doom sort of, but gothic doom, but not really that gothic. I don't know, it's hard to describe. He's also got a solo project, Dreaded Void, he does everything on. It's pretty black metal. And of course he drums in Nazul and Temple Nightside, and oh shit, I forgot to get Pestilential Shadows out as well. So the bloke gets around. I mean, plus a number of other bands. I think he helps out with Drowning the Light pretty regularly, and yeah, his Rune Spell as well. So yeah, he gets around, that lad. He's a busy boy, but he's a damn good drummer, so he knows what he's doing. So yeah, plenty of stuff spawned from these guys. I still love Backyard Mortuary, but yeah, a lot of their spin-off bands are well worth checking out as well. So I'll put links to everything below. As I said, there's I could only find a link so far to the album of Backyard Mortuary, but yeah, if I find them on YouTube, I'll put the other stuff up there. I don't know if there's any live footage. I forgot to look because I've seen them. So, but yeah, killer death metal band. Good run of 12 years or whatever. They made their mark. Bloody awesome stuff. Next up are Crypt. They're from Brisbane in Queensland, so up north. They're a death metal band. They originally were around from 1990 to 2000, then split up for ages, and then reformed in 2016. So I was pleased to see them back. They play kind of fastish death metal. I mean, not like blasting the whole time, but yeah, and plenty of sort of mid-paced chuggery sort of bits as well. Kind of reminds me of your Malevolent Creation, maybe a bit of early Cannibal Corpse and Deicide. And they also do occasionally remind me of fellow Queenslanders Misery and Obfuscate Mass. Yeah, one of the highlights for me has always been just the super deep vocals. Is following in a long tradition of Aussie death metal legends like Bramelin, Incabulous, Damnatory, and Obfuscate Mass, as previously mentioned, who had ridiculously deep vocals. And yeah, they're brutal. Really brutal. I love it. Yeah, I've seen these guys a number of times. They've only had 4 releases or so. And honestly, I've always really loved their logo. It's very stylish. I think they started with various lineups, but the original lineup for the demo was Nathan Pilch on guitars, Grant Martin on vocals, Alan Bennett on drums, and David Allen on bass. Eventually they got a second guitarist, Grant McKinnon, for the first EP, and later on Cliff Young started playing drums for the album. When they reformed, Cliff took over on bass duties, and original drummer Alan came back, so bit of musical chairs there, but yeah, still brutal as. Alright, they started with the Excruciating Agony demo from 1994. Amusingly, I bought this from Magpie Music in Bega. You can still see the price tag of $8. It was pretty expensive for a demo in those days. Magpie Music was just this normal store in Bega, which is, you know, a nice little small town on the coast. And yeah, I wandered in there, and sure enough, there was a Crypt demo, and there was, I think, My Dying Bride, I Am the Bloody Earth EP as well. So, hey, sorted. I think I actually already had the Crypt demo, the EP, before I actually got the demo, but yeah, what the hell. I was very surprised to find it there, because it's like 1,200 k's away or something or other from where it originated, so yeah. But yeah, it's a pretty damn good start, actually. It's a pretty good sound for a mid-90s sort of demo. The guitars are a bit muffled, but the bass kind of stands out nicely, and yeah, those monstrous vocals are very prominent, you could say. First song is Deceased, which, yeah, is probably my favourite of pretty much all their songs, actually. It's just got this ridiculously great bass breakdown sort of bit that is, yeah, disgusting zombie metal. Yeah, the breakdown is just, yeah, super heavy. It's no doubt the 8 seconds of music that I used prior to this. It's, yeah, ridiculously good song. Torture is another, it's a sort of slow banger, but it breaks into a nice sort of mid-paced chug. And yeah, the third song, Nocturnal Killing, actually kind of reminds me of Misery, and it's pretty much the only song of theirs that reminds me of Misery, but I'm not surprised. Misery were death metal gods in Queensland in those days, so I'm sure they saw them a few times. All 3 songs on this were re-recorded for either the EP or the album, so, but yeah, bloody good start, and I'm very happy that I just happened to have this, because yeah, I never saw it for sale in Canberra. I don't know if they sold it at their gigs, because I did see them live a few times, but I'm sure they probably sold out by then, so yeah, happy to have that one. 1996, they released their self-titled EP. This is much better sound than the demo, unsurprisingly. Nice little moon on the background and very unreadable friggin' track listing. Cool logo. Yeah, they like their suns and planets and the like. Boys looking very tough live. So yeah, this is as a 5-piece. Sort of fills the sound out a bit more, I think. I really love the breakdown on Zombified. Is just so killer, and just with the deep vocals, it just works perfectly. And surprisingly, I mean, the vocals sound a lot better on this, like everything does, but he's quite understandable, which is kind of weird in a death metal vocalist. Maybe I'm just used to listening to horrible growling, but I can actually make words out. Undead's another banger on this, and I think it's, what is it, Disgusting Lust has just got this sort of really long growls. He does like long, it's beautiful. There's also some phaser guitar action, which they sort of use throughout. Like the album's got a bit of phaser action. I think it's phaser. It's got that sort of circular, weird sort of sound. And it's also got a nice sort of bass break, but I kind of like this era. They only use blasts sort of minimally. I mean, it's still fast in parts, but it's mostly mid-paced and just heavy as hell. It's a very impressive EP. It's certainly, I think, pretty sure that's what I got first, probably from Impact for $5 or who knows. But yeah, it was a very good intro for me, that's for sure. In 1998, they released their final release of their initial run. This is El Nino, which this came out on either Pyramid Music or Multiverse Music. Both are listed, but both have the same PO box as Crypt themselves, so let's just say it's self-released. Honestly, I don't like this kind of stripped back sound on this one a bit too much. They dropped the second guitarist, so it's just Nathan. I mean, who's a very competent player, that's for sure, but it just sounds, especially when he does solos, there is no second track guitar, and it's just bass and drums and a solo. It's yeah, it sounds a little odd, I've got to say. I'll just show you the boys looking tough on the inner bit. Yeah, it just, I don't know, I like the fuller sound of the EP a little more, to tell the truth. And this actually seems a bit sort of faster and more aggressive. It could be because new drummer Cliff used to be in Invocation, who are pretty intense. It does have some killer songs though. Explosion's the first one, and it's off to a killer start with furious opening and then just a killer chugger riff. Twisted and Demented, it's one of the interesting ones on it for me. It's got a sort of, it sounds like something off Leprosy, one of the riffs there, and then has a solo that doesn't really do it for me, to tell the truth. Outer Space is actually one of the more interesting ones of theirs. That they you can tell they're getting a little more technical, a little more skillful in their playing. But honestly, I kind of prefer the more brutal tracks like Extraterrestrial. It's pretty nasty. They redo Deceased and The Undead on this, and Deceased rules as usual with its killer suffocation sort of style breakdown. This one's actually the first one you get lyrics for it as well, and I mean half of which are hacking and slashing kind of style, or there's Extraterrestrial or bubonic experiments about bubonic experiments, and Pinatubo, sorry, is about the volcanoes. So interesting range of lyrics, that's for sure. But it wasn't quite my favourite. As I said before, I kind of prefer the EP a bit to this one. I would have been very interested to see what they did after this. So unfortunately they split for 16 years, but they got back together, so it's all good. And they got back together in 2016. They reissued pretty much everything on this. This is a nice box set called Disgusting Zombie Metal. So in this you get 3 CDs and a nice little booklet with the booklet's got a nice write-up from one of their mates, and track listings and so on, and lots of the band looking young with lots of hair. You also get like the 3 releases on cardboardy CD sort of style, with a different cover of El Nino and a slightly revised version of the EP, and you also get, best of all, a patch, but which I can't say I've put on anything yet. So this is pretty much everything they put out. Up to that point at any rate. It also has a batch of live tracks on it and a couple of rehearsal tracks, which is all kind of nice. The demo just sounds like the demo. The EP though, they have the original mix from like 95 or 96 whenever it was recorded. Plus there's like a 2016 remix version of it, which, judging by the liner notes, doesn't include that second guitarist, Greg McKinnon. Or maybe they forgot to credit him, but yeah, he's listed on the original mix, but not the later one. So, and it does sound a little, it's not quite as thick sounding, so I don't know, maybe you bug it up heaps of his parts, I don't know, but yeah, I prefer the original mix, to tell the truth. This does have a good batch of live stuff of almost all their songs that they've played, mostly Queensland gigs, and it actually sounds pretty good for, you know, mid-90s, probably not recorded all that well. It sounds surprisingly good, and I mean, no surprise at all of the vocals just wipe out everything. Not everything, but they're very prominent, you could say. It does have like a unreleased track called Dimensions of the Triangle, which is like a rehearsal version, I think, of that, or a live version, but it sounds pretty average, so it's kind of difficult to make out a lot of it, but yeah, it's still nice to hear a track I hadn't already heard. And yeah, for the live stuff, it's great to hear the crowd enthusiasm. It really was a pretty magical time for death metal in the Aussie scene in the mid-90s. There was a lot of killer bands doing the rounds. And yeah, the crowds used to go pretty friggin' berserk. It was great times. So yeah, I would highly recommend, just don't bother trying to track down the originals. Just get this. It's much easier. So, but yeah, I was very happy to pick up that. It came out on like EVP Productions or something or other, which I'm not sure. I think it's what turned into direct merch, because it's got like releases by, you know, King Parrot and Psychroptic and stuff. So I'm assuming it's Dave from Psychroptic's label. Yeah, so that was a damn good release, that one. And the most recent thing they've put out is this 2017 picture disc 7-inch that they put out also on EVP. This has got 2 tracks, BTK, I wonder who that's about, and Mania. So yeah, this is a lineup with Grant, Nathan, the original guys, Alan, the original drummer, and Cliff, the replacement drummer, now on bass. And yeah, it's a cleaner sound, you could say, of the much like El Nino. But those vocals are still brutal as hell. The bass is a little twangier than my liking. Maybe it's a little more prominent. It always kind of reminds me of that kind of, I don't know, third album of Testament sort of style bass. Sounds a little odd, but then, yeah, the bass player mastered it. So maybe he pushed it up a bit, who knows. At any rate, both songs are friggin' killer. I think I prefer Mania. It sounds like no time has passed whatsoever. It's just like, bang, straight back into it. It's beautiful stuff. So yeah, that's their most recent thing, and unfortunately probably their last thing, I'd say. Now live, surprisingly, I saw them a couple of times back in the day. Unfortunately, I haven't seen them since the 2016 reunion. But yeah, back in the day, they, despite being 1,200 k's away from Canberra, they played a number of times here. Mostly in 1997 to 99 sort of area. They played a couple of Metal for the Brains, like 97 and 99. But yeah, towards the end of 97, I think they played 2 gigs in the same day, of which I'll put the flyers up. I don't think I went to the All Ages one. Maybe I did. I don't remember that one, but I definitely went to the evening one. And they also played with Dying Embers, killer old Queanbeyan metal band that at the Boardroom, which was a legendary old venue that's now completely demolished, unfortunately. It was this pokey little venue that I went to. Many a fun gig, including who was it? Brad's probably 30th or something or other. I don't know. It was like a fancy dress party where I went as an executioner, and I thought I looked cool, but there was people were way better. My good mate Andy was like dressed up as the Pope, I think, and there was like Dilger was from A Clockwork Orange. It was just beautiful watching moshes of people in costumes. It was circle mosh of people dressed up as wraiths and stuff. Oh, it was beautiful. Anyway, I digress. Crypt, friggin' killer. They were very suited to the cozier sort of venue, and it was just mostly all I remember is just those mega vocals and lots of headbanging, man. These dudes went off live. They still do from the look of it. I saw a bit of more recent footage of them on YouTube. If you search for Crypt Live or whatever, you'll find a few songs from the old days, as well as newer ones, and yeah, they've still got it, that's for sure. As I said, I haven't seen them on this recent run. I think they might have had quite a split after 2016 after a while, but they haven't done much for a while. But they're unfortunately playing their final show this year on the 31st of August. If you're in Brisbane or thereabouts, I'd highly recommend going. It's called Necrosonic Festival. There's like a squillion bands: Miseries, Psychroptic, Potion, Resin Tomb, Remains, Mortality, Back from the Dead, Pestilence, and also the awesomely named Nicolas Cage Fighter. I love that. So yeah, it's a killer festival. I don't think I'll be attending, unfortunately, which is a real shame. But yeah, Crypt will be their final show from all reports, although who knows, they could get back together. But yeah, they've listed it as their final show, so that's a real shame because yeah, it was the music itself was just perfect live. It was because it's heavy as hell, and yeah, even the more recent live footage, you can see the crowd just going off for it because yeah, it's very effective stuff live. So it's a shame I'll miss them, but I've still got somewhat vague, you could say. It's like green haze of old memories of seeing them in the past. And yeah, I don't actually remember seeing them I would have watched them at Metal for the Brain, but I don't really remember the crowd response. But I'm sure it would have been good because, yeah, as I said, death metal heyday. So where are they now? Well, this is a lot easier than Backyard Mortuary, that's for sure. Pretty much the other guys, nothing. Not in anything. Cliff, the previous drummer and now bassist, he was in Bone Marrow for a while back in the 2018 when this demo came out. It was a sort of grindy kind of band. Plus, I mean, originally he was in Invocation, who did this. Their only release seems to be this split with Stargazer. Surely they had some demos and stuff. I'd never heard any other Invocation. They are somewhat chaotic death metal, you could say. So yeah, now he's the live drummer for Cryptivore. It's a killer bloody death metal band from Queensland that, who knows, may feature on one of these in future. But yeah, other than that, the other guys, nothing that I can see, which is quite a waste if you ask me, but oh well. So yeah, great band. I really enjoyed them. There's links below to their Bandcamp where you can buy all of their stuff digitally for pretty friggin' cheap, I've got to say. Plus, they actually still have physical copies of the album and the 7-inch and also the box set as well, of course. So yeah, if you really want, you could track down some more of their stuff. So yeah, highly recommended. Just killer Queensland death metal. Love it. So that's a look at 2 killer Aussie death metal bands. I highly encourage you to check them out. As I said, you can buy lots of Crypt stuff from their Bandcamp, and you can probably track down some Backyard Mortuary stuff. Both awesome bands live, and as you can probably tell from a lot of my ramblings, I really like seeing bands live, and these two are both friggin' killer. Yeah, let me know if you agree with my opinions below, or if there's any other requests that you'd like for other underrated Aussie metal bands. And as I said in the intro, these are just bands that I consider underrated in the rest of the world, not Australia. They're both pretty bloody popular. So, but yeah, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers.